Libra, welcome to your mid-June 2018 tarot update. It's Raina here, and I'm going to try to do this video in 15 minutes. Well, maybe I don't need to. I've got my extension cord, or whatever you want to call it, right here. There we go. So scratch what I just said. I'm using the Druid Craft tarot deck. It makes it sound like I'm a witch or something. I'm not in Wicca or anything like that. I just like the pretty pictures. And I also like the fact that they are very faithful to the Rider-Waite deck. And that's why I have it. Okay. Sometimes I just cut the cards to get what I want, to make my point, you know, instead of the typical shunning. Oh, that's interesting. Because I'm saying it's interesting because they use different terms for the major arcana. I'm actually warming up to this deck. I used it the first time. The cards are kind of bigger. And, you know, maybe I got a little bit influenced by Amazon, because somebody wrote a review and they said, oh, the cards are a little bit awkward to put in your hands. They are bigger than the typical tarot cards. Let me see if I can... Well, I don't have my tarot cards around here, but you're going to have to take my word on it. You can probably tell yourself. But really, I mean, maybe for shuffling, but I can't shuffle anyway, so, you know, what difference does it make? And I was thinking maybe they look too big on the table, but I don't think so. I think they're quite nice. So the heart of the matter, your focus, is the Chariot card right now. This is for this end of June period, and this is some kind of victory that you have achieved. And you may have felt a sense of, I really had to buckle down. I had to, like, not allow things, you know, that were around me to affect me and just focus, hyper-focus on something. This card is also connected to Cancer, so that a Cancer person may be in your life right now, you're involved with them for some reason, and that's why it's appearing at the centerpiece of the reading. We have the past that's influencing this. We have the Queen of Swords, and this is kind of going along with what I just said. The Queen of Swords is about allowing yourself to... I was looking because she's sharpening her blade with her hand. It's allowing yourself to not allow your emotions to get the better of you in terms of maybe having to make a decision. And of course with Libra, you are a swords person because the swords are the air signs. And so this could be you as the Queen of Swords, but maybe you've had to make an important decision, and we know how much Libras love making decisions. But the interesting thing about Libra making decisions is usually your emotions are not overtly influencing your confusion or whatever you want to call why you can't make the decision. I think that for Librans, the reason that they have trouble making a decision is because they see all sides of a situation. So it's not like black and white to you. And therefore, you're not just easily able to say, oh yeah, right, you know, we'll do this, we'll do that. It's like, yeah, but what about, you know, this angle of the situation? And I will say one thing, and I want you just to consider this. If there has been a decision that you've had to make and you felt like your emotions were really had to be kind of put on a shelf. And that was a challenge for you that you kind of like were victorious in. I would say that sometimes this can occur because you have a tendency maybe not to be totally acknowledge your emotions. Like maybe you tend to shove them under the rug, and then what happens is when it comes time to make a decision, you really have not been processing a lot of the stuff going on, and therefore it leads to this, oh my God, what do I do? Because your intuition and your emotions are one. Whatever it is that you're feeling, you have to honor that as a Libra person, because that is kind of showing you what you need to do. And I think when sometimes I do say, and I can understand why this would piss off a Libra person. I say that Libra can be a neurotic sign. And I say that because when Librans are denying their true feelings and trying to push them away for whatever reason, it comes back to haunt them. And they end up, and it's really, the worst part about it is that if you, and this could be true of all air signs to some degree, the worst part about it is they can argue their case and intellectualize their choices better than anyone. And so they can really lie to themselves at a profound level in a very sophisticated manner. And other people may see what's really going on, but it's very hard for them to see it for themselves. And so I feel like you've broken through that in some way. Because actually what the Queen of Swords represents is a good thing. It means that you don't allow the emotions to overtake other aspects of your life, such as making rational decisions. I'm not glorifying emotions. I think they're helpful to get us to know what we want and what we don't want. But I also think they're irrational based upon even past lives, that we have these emotional attitudes and reactions that sometimes are not in alignment with who we are right now. The spiritual ideas to work with are the Nine of Swords. This is an extension of what I just said. This is the card of anxiety. And, in this particular, this particular deck is also going along with the Pamela Coleman Rider-Waite illustration, because that one also depicts bedtime, okay? Because at nighttime, we tend to be less active physically, so we don't have the ability to distract ourselves with activity at night as much. So being able to see that anxiety is also a teacher is important. People, the first thing they do when they're anxious, they want to just make it go away. Instead, the best thing you can possibly do when you're anxious is sit with yourself and try to figure out where it's coming from. It usually, you know where it's coming from, and if you don't, just not running away from it can be very helpful. I mean, I have had a lifetime of dealing with anxiety in different forms. I think I'm pretty much an expert on anxiety. So it's not that I'm on a high horse whatsoever. But I do believe that resistance is a big cause of continuous anxiety. When someone is refusing to see a situation as it is and using these other methods to try to get rid of the anxiety, that can cause resistance. And sorry for the external noise. I mean, sometimes when I start filming, it's fine and dandy, and then all of a sudden, because I live by trains and there's all kinds of stuff that are going on, and so anyway, it can get kind of distracting sometimes. But yeah, so this is something to look at because it may be informing a lot of your decisions. And with the Chariot, this is something to be happy about, that, you know, that you have achieved, that you have kind of mastered in some way. But with the Nine of Swords, it's showing that it doesn't mean that just because you have a success doesn't mean that everything is fine in the future. You know, that's another mistake that people make, is that they are so desperate to get rid of a certain negative emotion that they have, that they want to eradicate it forever, not realizing that we're always faced with situations that can cause us to be anxious. It's about how we learn how to manage these uncomfortable feelings, because that's what they are. They don't have to be scary. The more that you give power to them, the more they become overwhelming and scary. But the more that you make peace with anxiety, you know, which sounds like an oxymoron, and that just simply means that you don't expect that you're always going to feel happy or calm, that you can use these times of feeling less sure about yourself to learn about yourself more. If you're in a relationship with somebody who perhaps is a Cancer, this person may have been problematic in some way. I mean, I'm just going on one particular line of thought. It doesn't mean that that's necessarily the case. But before I get into this card, let me talk about this, because this is the challenge card. And the lady is going along with the Empress. That's another name for it. So the Empress card is connected to the planet Venus, which is your ruler. So this card is associated with the signs of Taurus and Libra. And it is the Earth Mother concept. So here's one thing that I could throw out. You're with a Cancer person. Cancer people want children usually, and you're not sure if you want children, because the Empress can be about becoming a mother. And you're not sure if you want children, and now you have anxiety because of it. So the point that I'm trying to make is that we could look at the Empress as a divine feminine archetype. I mean, I don't know if it qualifies. But Libra is a masculine sign. Even though Libra women look girly girl a lot of times, they have the masculine drive, usually to be career people, to be out there doing stuff, not in the home, in, you know, this private enclave, but more in the world. And that can often be a conflict for masculine sign women, whether it's air signs or fire signs. Do I have to give up myself to be a part of you? Will you accept me if I don't want to have children? Will you accept me if I want my space, if I don't want to always be with you? The Empress in this challenging position can be that there is I'll put it this way, there's a strumpet that is challenging your relationship, a tart, a thought who is challenging your relationship, and you are anxious about it. And maybe you've tried to kind of act like it doesn't matter, but it does. That could be what's going on. The Queen of Swords could be you're putting on an act. This is really upsetting you, that you think your partner's cheating on you with a woman who is what you might consider a loose woman, a woman who's using her sexuality to get what she wants. And, you know, people don't understand that. You know, it never ceases to amaze me when I see these. Oh gosh, I know I can't. You know, if I confess this, I got into a little habit last week of watching those cheating They just have like little cheating tidbits, and they reveal the person who's been cheating. And she goes, that slut, or that terrible person. They're always going for the other woman. And they're not looking at their partner. They're always like focused on the other woman, because women have been conditioned to fight amongst themselves for a man. And if you could see any woman that you consider a temptress as somebody who doesn't really have a sense of power, that's the only way that she can feel powerful, then you would have more compassion for such a person. But really, your emphasis should be on the person that you're with, not anybody else, if that's the case. Don't get sucked into some kind of a Maury Povich situation where you're just, bagging on some other woman and neglecting, letting your man off the hook. That's to me, that's really unevolved. And I'm not talking about whether or not the other person has a responsibility. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about who you direct all your stuff to. Should it be the other woman, or should it be the person who made vows to you, or who said that they were monogamous with you? You don't know this person, from a hole in the wall, but you know your partner and what they're supposed to be about. Now, if this is a workplace situation, which it could be for sure with the Chariot card, this could be one of those things of be careful of what you wish for. You might get what you want. Maybe you get a promotion, but it's like making you feel like totally anxious because you have all this responsibility. For instance, hiring and firing people, and that just is upsetting you. What is coming in is represented by the Ace of Pentacles. This can be a new job. So this might be something that is more suitable for your particular temperament. This is so important. You can have a wonderful job that just isn't suited for what, your sensitivity, your talents, that it doesn't, it's not in alignment with you. And you may get into something that is, and that's good. That's important. There's no reason why we can't change. And sometimes we're changing. It seems like we're changing all the time, especially nowadays. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of shifts, a lot of plot twists. And we have to be able to do so. We have to be up on them. Also, the Ace of Pentacles could be talking about a new relationship with someone that is really, it's really like a, what can I call it? Like a solid type of relationship. One that will stand the test of time. Not an affair. Not something that's just a fun diversion, but something that you may be able to make as a permanent relationship. It could literally be with an earth sign person, or somebody who has a strong earthy temperament. We're talking about Taurus, we're talking about Virgo and Capricorn. The outcome is the Nine of Pentacles, which is another earthy energy. We have a lot of earthy energy in this reading. So it is possible that this could be like work-related, but the Knight of Pentacles is about being self-sufficient, really. And why is this important? Well, let's say that you are a woman and you're married and you are sitting up late at night because you're in an unhappy marriage or live-in situation, and you feel like you want to leave, but you keep telling yourself you can't leave because of the economics. This card would be saying, of course you can leave because of the economics, that you have what it takes. Now, it could be, too, that the universe will meet you where you're at. So if you're someone who feels like you can't make it on your own, if you're really serious about wanting happiness in your life, the universe may make a way for that to occur. Whether it's in the form of a new job. And then you can have what you want. So the problem with the Nine of Swords, and this is why I don't tend to end readings with the Nine of Swords, is because it's what they call in, I think this is from AA, stinking thinking, where you are just in that mode of worry. There's no sense of like, okay, what do I do to get myself out of this? It's just like, what if, what if, what if? That's what worry is. That's what anxiety is. Anxiety is usually 9 times out of 10 not a cougar or some kind of like wild animal that's chasing me and I'm about to get eaten by it. It's usually about what if. And if it is about something that's actually happening, it's about the conclusions that we reach based upon that information. So you find out your partner has been cheating on you, and you say, I'm not good enough. It must mean that I am not lovable, or that I'm not attractive, or whatever people say during that kind of a situation. And if you ever have these kinds of persistent negative thoughts, you might be interested in someone like Byron Katie. And I'm sure that if you go to YouTube, I mean, I know you can find interviews with her, and there are books that you can get that talk about it. She has something called The Work, and it's basically these 4 questions that you ask, and one of them, and I think it's the first one, is it true? So when you say these things to yourself, you say, is it true? Am I unlovable because my partner cheated on me? And you find out that there is no basis for what you're saying. You're just habitually saying these things, probably from conditioning, from from past experiences, creating this kind of negative self-talk, but it's not inherently true. And so the Nine of Pentacles, you notice how there are 2 nines there. The Nine of Pentacles is about standing on your own 2 feet. And yes, we can say it's financial because it's pentacles, it's dealing with practical matters. But I always think of it, the independence that you have materially is also played out in your sense of emotional independence as well. When you feel dependent materially, you really feel this sense of like being of the power balance in your relationship being off. And that can actually lead the other person to take advantage of that. So this is one of the reasons why we're holistic beings. One part of us affects the other. And so even though I'm ending this reading on this practical note of what the Nine of Pentacles relates to, there are other interpretations that are not specifically related to you having the money to live on your own, the same way that the Ace of Pentacles doesn't just have to be about getting a new job. It can be about attracting a relationship that is solid, that is not something that teeters depending on the day of the week it is, because the relationship is based on shaky ground. It's something much more solid and enduring. Okay, Libra, I hope that you enjoyed this general reading, and if you would like something particularly personalized based on your natal chart and based on me focusing just on you, please click on the link below, and it'll take you to my website, rainandmoonastrology.com. Take care. Bye.